Hello and welcome to BYJU'S Exam Prep IAS, presenting to you the daily quiz for 17th of May 2022. But before we begin, here is an important update with respect to Target Prelims 2022. I hope you all are religiously following these lectures that cover the current affairs important for the upcoming prelims. Today at 7:30 p.m. we will have Science and Technology session part 2, and tomorrow at the same time, that is 7:30 p.m., you can watch part 3 of Science and Technology lecture by Rashesh sir. To be notified when we go live, please do set a reminder by clicking on the link given in the description box. Now let us begin and take a look at the first question for today. Consider the following statements with respect to Kanheri Caves. Number 1. This group holds numerous rock-cut structures carved out of basalt rocks. Kanheri flourished under the patronage of Satavahana, Traikotakas, Vakatakas and Silaharas. Number 3. The caves are present within the Chandoli National Park. Which of the given statements is or are correct? What is the context? This article in the PIB today has a reference to the Kanheri Caves, and that is why we've taken up this question. See, these Kanheri Caves are examples of Buddhist caves with rock-cut architecture. They are present amidst the Sanjay Gandhi National Park in the Western Ghats. And according to the historians, these caves were carved between 200 AD and 600 AD. Now, what does Kanheri mean? Kanheri was also known as Krishnagiri and literally translates to Black Mountain, and this is named after its black basalt rock. And this group holds numerous rock-cut structures that are carved out of basalt rocks. It contains Buddhist sculptures and relief carvings, paintings and also inscriptions. It has more than 110 different rock-cut monolithic excavations and is one of the largest single excavation in India. See, Kanheri flourished under the patronage of Satavahanas, the Traikotakas, Vakatakas and Silaharas, and it flourished through the donations that were made by the wealthy merchants of the region back then. So coming back to our question, statement number 1 is correct. It has rock-cut structures that are carved out of basalt rocks. Statement number 2, as we just discussed, is also correct. And statement number 3 becomes incorrect because the caves are present amidst Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Therefore, the right answer to our question would be option A, 1 and 2 only. See, these caves were mentioned in the travelogues of foreign travelers as well. And the earliest reference of Kanheri is ascribed to Fahian, who visited India during 399 and 411 CE. Other important points to remember about the Kanheri Caves are a colossal Buddha statue of 22 feet in height, a Chaitya Griha, a depiction of large Avalokiteshvara with 11 heads, a painted ceiling, and a complex water harvesting management system. Now let us take up question number 2. Consider the following statements. Number 1. 5G works in 3 bands, namely low, mid, and high frequency spectrum. Number 2. High band spectrum offers the highest speed of all the 3 bands and has greater coverage and signal penetration strength. Number 3, low band spectrum is best suited for commercial cell phone users. Which of the given statements is or are correct? What is the context? According to this article in the PIB today, a program for marking the Silver Jubilee celebrations of TRI is scheduled for 17th of May. And during this program, the Prime Minister of India will also launch a 5G test bed. This 5G test bed is being developed to enable a supportive ecosystem for Indian industry as well as startups so that they can sync their products as well as solutions in 5G and next generation technologies. It is in this context that we've taken up this question for discussion on 5G. First of all, let us understand what is 5G. 5G or 5th generation is the latest upgrade in the long-term evolution mobile broadband networks. This 5G works in 3 bands, that is low frequency spectrum, mid frequency spectrum and high frequency spectrum. Now, each of these 3 bands have their own uses as well as limitations. The low band spectrum has shown great promise in terms of coverage as well as speed of internet and data exchange, but the maximum speed limit is limited. So this is optimal for commercial cell phone users who do not have specific demands for very high speed internet, right? Now coming to the mid-band spectrum. This mid-band spectrum offers higher speeds compared to the lower band. But this has limitations in terms of coverage area and penetration of signals. So this band can be used by industries and specialized factory units for building captive networks that can be molded to fulfill the needs of that particular industry. Now coming to high band spectrum. This spectrum offers the highest speed of all three bands, but this has extremely limited coverage and signal penetration strength. So now coming back to our question, statement number 1 becomes correct. Statement number 2 becomes incorrect because yes, high band spectrum offers highest speed of all the three bands, but it has limited coverage and signal penetration strength. And as we've discussed, statement number 3 is correct. Low band spectrum is best suited for commercial cell phone users. Therefore, the right answer to our question would be option B, 1 and 3 only. Moving on to question number 3. Consider the following statements with respect to ECOSTRESS. Number 1, it is an instrument with a radiometer which was sent onto the International Space Station in 2018. It can measure temperatures on the ground as opposed to the air temperature. Number 3, it is tasked with measuring the temperature of plants and understanding their water requirements and the impact of the climate on them. Which of the given statements is or are incorrect? What is the context? This article in the Indian Express newspaper today that talks about urban heat islands has a reference to NASA's Ecosystem Spaceborne Thermal Radiometer Experiment, also known as ECOSTRESS. So, ECOSTRESS is an instrument with a radiometer which was sent on to the International Space Station in 2018. So, statement number 1 is correct. What does this do? See, the ground temperatures are likely to be higher during the day than air temperatures and almost same during the night. So this ECOSTRESS measures the temperature on the ground. So it uses this multispectral thermal infrared radiometer to measure the surface temperatures. So statement number 2 is also correct. So now this ECOSTRESS is a part of an ongoing scientific experiment in which a radiometer that is mounted on International Space Station measures the temperature of plants growing in specific locations on Earth. So primarily the task of ECOSTRESS is to measure the temperature of plants and also to understand their water requirements and also the impact of climate change on these plants. So statement number 3 is also correct. Therefore, the right answer to our question would be option D, none of the above, because all of these statements are correct and the question is asking us for incorrect statements. Moving on to question number 4. Consider the following statements with respect to the Great Himalayan National Park. Number 1, it is located in the Kulu region in the state of Himachal Pradesh. Number 2, it is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. Number 3, musk deer and the western horned tragopan can be spotted in the Great Himalayan National Park. Number 4, it is spread across 4 valleys. Which of the given statements is or are correct? What is the context? This article in the Indian Express newspaper that talks about the increase in the number of forest fires in the hilly areas has a mention to the Great Himalayan National Park. And that is why we've taken up this question for discussion. This Great Himalayan National Park is located in the Kulu region in the state of Himachal Pradesh. And it was established in the year 1984. In the year 2014, it got the status of UNESCO World Heritage Site under the criteria Outstanding Significance for Biodiversity Conservation. Now coming back to the question, statement number 1 is correct. And statement number 2 is also correct. So by now we know that this national park is known for its flora and fauna. Yes, musk deer as well as western horned tragopan can be spotted here. So statement number 3 is correct. Now the last statement. The Great Himalayan National Park is spread across 4 valleys, correct. These are Tirthan, Sainch, Parvati and Jivanal valleys. Therefore, statement number 4 is also correct. And the answer to our question would be option D, 1, 2, 3 and 4. Now let us take up a previous year question from Prelims paper 2021. Consider the following kinds of organisms. Number 1, copepods. Number 2, cyanobacteria. Number 3, diatoms. Number 4, foraminifera. Which of the above are primary producers in the food chains of oceans? First of all, let us understand what primary producers are. Primary producers are green plants or microorganisms that can convert light energy or chemical energy into organic matter. So another name for producers is autotrophs or self-nourishers. See, diatoms are chief producers in the oceans. They are found in fresh water as well as in marine waters. They are microscopic and float passively in water currents, and most of them are photosynthetic. So 3 is correct, and we can eliminate option A and option D. Now let us take a look at cyanobacteria. Cyanobacteria is also referred to as blue-green algae, and they have chlorophyll, and similar to green plants, they are photosynthetic autotrophs. So 2 also becomes correct. Therefore, the right answer to our question would be option B, 2 and 3. See, copepods are generally herbivores that feed only on plant plankton which they filter from the water. So they are not primary producers. And foraminifera are found in all marine environments, and they feed upon bacteria or small diatoms and also nanoplankton. So they are also not primary producers. Now let us take up the fact of the day for today. How did Sikkim become a part of India? We've taken up this topic for discussion today because of a reference in the PIB article. See, Sikkim Statehood Day is observed in India to commemorate the day when this Himalayan kingdom became a part of the Indian Union. On the 16th of May 1975, Sikkim became the 22nd state of India, abolishing the long rule of monarchy. Now let us talk about its history. The kingdom of Sikkim dates back to the 17th century when the Namgyal dynasty founded it. It was ruled by a monarchy of Buddhist priest kings known as Chogyal. By 1890, it became a principality within British India. And this state came under the jurisdiction of Britishers who used it as a buffer state between China and British India. Right? And after the independence of India in 1947, Sikkim became a part of India but unofficially. Its security, foreign policy and communication came under the realm of India but by maintaining its independence at the same time. And 3 years after India's independence, Sikkim became a protectorate of India. And the period between 1950 and 1970 saw growing discontent among the people in Sikkim. This was primarily because there was anger against the monarchy because of growing inequality and feudal control. Right? In the year 1974, elections were held where Sikkim State Congress, that was led by Khasi Lendup Dorji, won, defeating the pro-independence parties. And that year, a new constitution was adopted which restricted the role of monarch to a titular post. In the following year, that is in the year 1975, there was a special referendum held. And in this referendum, more than 97% of the electorate voted for the merger of Sikkim with India. And that is how Sikkim became a part of India under the 35th Constitutional Amendment Act. That is all for today. Thank you for being with us. Keep watching and keep learning.